And buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and welcome to Weekend Crypto. I am Trekkw2ks. This is the Gentleman of Crypto, aka Crypto Death Row, aka we got all the people who talk about everything you need to understand in this space. The Gentleman of Crypto network is real. We got some real heavy hitter, knowledgeable people in this joint, and I'm glad to be a part of that as we move forward in this decade. But I don't know, maybe that might be me tooting my horn or just because I've been down with the thing for a minute. Nonetheless, though, before I jump into these stories, a couple of things that did happen. It is the Xmas, aka Christmas holiday weekend. So it's funny how some of the stories went, but I want to say thank you to the folks who are still tapping in. Thank you for checking out my channel. I really do appreciate. As y'all know, I am not the price talk type person, but y'all still do tap in for my, let's say, qualitative observations of how I see things going in the space, especially for these news situations or stories that come out between Friday and Sunday, which is what I do here on the Weekend Crypto. So it's covering those stories that come out Friday evening to Sunday, wrap it all up, pop it out Monday morning before you get into the live show with Zay and King. You got like here's a recap of what happened on a weekend. And I try to do it where I don't cover the same stories as them. And I also try to do it where I don't cover the same stories as like the other folks who are in the network. But hey, let's just jump into these stories. And this first one is that crypto lending firm Genesis Global halts redemptions. So basically, here it is. Genesis Global is stopping all redemptions. As a spokesperson for Genesis Global is assuring followers that the move is only temporary. The stoppage is designed to help the company better understand what happened and protect itself from potential ripple effects following the exchange's crash. And they're talking about their FTX connection. They get into a little bit of it later on in the article. Excuse me. But they're not really saying anything. Like, so all of the other functions are still there, right? So the trading, the custodial side of it and stuff, but this redemption thing is where they're like, hey, maybe we might want to look through our books. Here's the short answer of that, of what that means, at least in my understanding of everything going on in the space right now. There is the stuff that they did on chain, and then there's the stuff that was off chain. And as I've said before, the issue that we see from this ripple effect of FTX, of Terra Luna, of Celsius is that everyone was trying to take transparent technology and put non-transparent business models, such as over leveraging, such as rehypothecation scenarios or models on the tech as the building element on this technology that does not work for non-transparent models. Eventually, there's a sustainability issue. The math don't math after a certain point. And so that's probably what they're trying to deal with right now and figuring out what's going on with their stuff and how much longer do they have or what are they going to have to cut? Bottom line, they're going to have to cut something and there's going to be more stuff to come out for this ripple effect. Next story is French investors sue Binance over 2.4 million euros in losses. Binance France and Binance Holding Limited are being sued over allegedly misleading commercial practices and fraudulent concealment. So here's how I said it before when the FTX situation popped up that like Binance is going to go through a definite smear campaign and it's going to be coming from a lot of different angles. This article, in my opinion, is an example of the other agendas that are playing out in this crypto space, especially in the speculative side that deals with centralized exchanges. So in a complaint filed December 14th, the plaintiffs claim, and it's 15 of them, by the way, that Binance violated French law by advertising and distributing crypto services before receiving registration from the country's authority. As reported by Cointelegraph, France financial market regulator, I don't even know how to say that, has granted Binance a license as a digital asset provider. That was back in May of this year, 2022. The license allowed the crypto exchange to offer services such as assets custody and crypto trading. The complainant reportedly so basically what they did, and I'm gonna just surmise this on, they basically took screenshots from pre-May of this year, 2022, and look in Telegram, look on what was the other thing that they said it was, the plaintiffs complained that over. Yeah, basically They were going on, if you look at social media, aka Telegram, there were groups advertising in Telegram that Binance could do blah, 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 commercially speaking, as marketing. Basically, what Binance said was, hey, we didn't operate the Telegram groups, so that's not us. So how are you suing us? I don't know how this is going to play out, but I know that I can definitely see more things popping up, tarnishing Binance on a global scale as well as here in the US states. And it's going to be what it's going to be. They're in the number 2 position, arguably, right now. Globally, they're in the number 1 position. But things are going to start, building up more. We'll see how it plays out. I imagine CZ and them is paying that law team pretty handsomely to do what they're supposed to do, as well as the compliance folks to make sure they stay out of certain legal situations. Jumping to this next story, I seen this one, and I imagine Zay and them is going to talk about this in a couple, but it definitely threw me off. So headlines, highlights, right? IRS delays 600 crypto tax threshold, citing need to clarify conditions before rollout. I feel like there's more going on in this. I'm not a CPA. I am not a tax professional. I am not anyway in that side of how to provide you financial advice. I'm just some bullheaded guy on the internet. But I will say this, if you are in an American jurisdiction, make sure you pay your taxes, because this to me seems like there may be a potential holdup now, but you got to remember the IRS can go after you a number of years back, and they have unlimited resource to be able to dig in your shit. So my thing, like my CPA tell me, pay your taxes. Okay. Make sure you are doing what you need to do to be financially responsible when it comes to any kind of variation of this department for whatever jurisdiction you in, but especially here in the US. So let's get into these highlights. The Internal Revenue Service is delaying rolling out its new $600 reporting threshold for third-party settlements, saying that more clarity needed before it can kick off. When I first read this through, I thought maybe the issue is there would be too much backlog. So you have the companies that have to make sure they're throwing out all of the reports that they need to. There's these things called 1099-Ks, which most people do not get 1099-Ks, and they don't even notice it when it pops up, especially if they're not doing their taxes themselves. If they just like hand the documents or the numbers over to somebody else to have them do it, most people don't pay attention to that. To me, that was my first thought when I saw this particular story. But I could definitely be wrong on it being a potential that they would be overwhelmed by the workload of having to then clarify how many people accurately got a 1099-K or got a 1099 at all. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of things playing out in regards to that, and them having the people power to be able to do it, to be able to backtrack and go through the whole thing. But do remember, the IRS has a whole new hiring process of people. Plus, they wanted to get people to have the ability to be deputized on the law enforcement side. Like they could actually be out there with guns and like going up to people's residencies or businesses, whatever. This is across the board of a thing. And considering what's going on right now, cities, townships, states, national, federal government, everyone's looking to find every penny that they can. Okay. Remember that. But let's get into the rest of this. In a new press release, the IRS says that due to the moratorium, third-party settlement businesses will no longer be required to report transactions in 2022 that cross the 600 threshold. Oh, snap. So what? This is going to be, guess what they call this? The transition year. My next thought about this was that they realized they couldn't do just an abrupt, hey, we're going to hit everybody. We got to walk up. We got to crawl up to this. If you're in the military, you know about crawl, walk, run. This is what they're doing to get people okay. Like, all right, we'll just get you to report on, oh, you did touch crypto. Okay, cool. You touched crypto. All right, don't worry about that. We'll come back to that later on. As opposed to, oh, you touch crypto? Let me see your pockets. Empty your pockets right now. That's not what's going on. We gotta, what do they call it? Soft glove it or something like. What is it? I think it's soft glove. Hey, you touch crypto? All right, cool, cool. You touch crypto? All right, well, don't worry about that right now. But you just said, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. We'll come back to that next year when they come back to this. When the recession that some people don't like to talk about is more in swing, it's gonna be real out here. I'm gonna say that much. But again, I'm not giving financial advice. You might want to find a lawyer or a tax person and be like, yo, do you actually know about crypto? Or like you just bought like the crash course on how to do crypto taxes. I'm just saying there's difference in these CPAs out here. Just saying. All right. The basic thing was they're saying 2022 is going to be a transition period. So come 2023, hopefully you got your ducks in a row. And the basic idea was they know that they were going to have an issue between the businesses and then the people themselves of trying to collect stuff. At least that's how I'm reading it. Excuse me. Was there anything else I highlighted? Nope, there was not. All right. That was it. Jumping on to the next thing. Carolina Ellison tells the court she knowingly misled lenders. So basically, as it is like we basically got the confirmation that your girl pled the deal. She was spilling the tea. And there was a part in this story that I wanted to actually highlight. The first thing I want to say is one, she's spilling the tea. Two, I question how it is. And I get that the transcript for the public hearing was public and all of that of what it was. But what it seems like to me is they're letting her story get out right now, which is going to counter Sam Bankman-Friedman's public defense and all of the stuff he was saying over the last couple of weeks. So they're distancing her from him. At least that's how it looks like it's being painted. And the same thing going on with Gary Wang, which like nobody talked about before. He also seemed to say, hey, I did change stuff on the code side that I knew would be wrong. This is what I was told to do. Even though he was in the head of, like he was a CTO, he was the head of his own lane. But nonetheless, this is what, was going on. And they're both spilling the tea pretty much. And we'll see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks, months, because apparently the judge who was sitting on the case also had to recuse himself because his law firm advised FTX. So yeah, donations matter, y'all. I'm just saying donations matter. Hashtag donations matter. Oh, also, if y'all got any thoughts on this or any of the things that I said in here, do note the links for this will be in the description, and I would definitely appreciate somebody sharing their thoughts for any of the stories that I said before or the ones that I'm about to say, because I got 2 more to go. Short weekend. I'm trying to get back to enjoying the rest of my solitude time. But other thing I wanted to talk about within this article that the block is now doing is this here. I was going through a couple of their other articles, even the ones related to FTX, and I did not see this disclaimer in any of the other articles. Just something to note that I'm pointing out, that this thing of like accountability and transparency and disclaimers of when do we know something, how do we know it? Do remember, gentlemen of crypto, we keep the receipts. So I'm gonna have the articles. I don't know if this particular way that this article is formatted with this disclaimer will be here in 6 months. Will it be here in 3 months? Hopefully somebody took a snap of this in Wayback Machine, because that's one of the things that we have to note about how the news websites and the formats are now. They have these new updates that will happen where sometimes they'll tell you that they updated it and they'll give you a time that it was last updated. And then sometimes they don't. I'm curious about this disclaimer here about the CEO of the block taking donations from Sam Bankman-Friedman. Will this stay in this article? Will it be gone in a week? Will it be gone in a year? I don't know. Just things to note of what's going on and how this crypto news is reported. Okay. I don't want to beat on this one because like at this point, I don't necessarily care too much about how Ethereum and stuff is going. But I do want to point out something, jump into the highlight real quick. Vitalik Buterin's faults, Ripple's decentralization claim. It says the platform is completely centralized. So here you got the genius boy over here talking to the business guy. Hey, your stuff is centralized. If you've noted, or if you haven't paid attention, I'm going to throw something out there. If you listen to how the sound bites are taken from Vitalik, and then X amount of the time when he's talking in interviews or he's giving presentations, he's also doing marketing. He's also doing the let me give you the popular narrative or the popular take on this thing. If you listen, like I said, if you go back to some of his stuff, unless he's at a really highly technical event or the person who he's being interviewed by actually understands the tech near his level or on his level, he does this thing where he'll talk in sound bites. Okay. At least that's my take on it. I'll say it that way. That's my take on it. But the point being is that he's over here calling Ethereum, no, sorry, Ripple as being centralized and taking a position. And I'm not even going to go into all of this. I just ran through some of the highlights to make the point of there's things that are not being put in context here. All right. A project in the crypto space needs to have some kind of chain data structure somewhere. That's one of the things he talks about. So let's get into that real quick as far as what he's talking about that has to be, quote, on chain versus what's not on chain, and which then has a lower threshold of transparency because not just anyone who has access to a blockchain explorer can look at the transactions themselves. That's for the point that he's making on here. But you got to understand, like, the idea of centralization and decentralization is not only a moving scale, how decentralized are you versus centralized, but it also plays out on different levels. Are we talking about the hardware? Are we talking about the pool as far as who the validators are? And like, are they running off of the same ethos or business models? Are we talking about the money that is required to be put into the system? Since, arguably, let me say it that way, for you ETH folks right now, with Ethereum moving to proof of stake, is that really making what Vitalik is saying as centralization is what Ripple is, but not what we are? Is that a valid statement? Because proof of stake means if I have the most money or more money than the next person, I can get in on this. But you're also taking it where you already have money and then you're getting extra money. It's a difference compared to what proof of work is set up as. And that's the point of what I think is not being made clear in this article. Like I said, when I went through it, it wasn't that they were making that the context to it. This is just let's pit two personalities together in the public sphere and have people pick a side, but they're not giving you the context of what type of centralization are we actually talking about. And like I said, Vitalik is not stupid. He does talk in terms of marketing and sound bites. You gotta go through enough of his stuff to differentiate between when he's saying certain things and understand X amount of the tech, which there's no real tech talk in this particular article. But I'm jumping into this last story. And so this last one is about Brazil legalizing crypto payments, setting the stage for a greater Bitcoin adoption. Again, caveats and context of what is actually going on in here, right? Also to remember, link for this will be in the description. So if you want to jump down a rabbit hole, you can definitely do that, right? Jair Bolsonaro, president of Brazil, has signed a bill that legalizes and regulates Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a payment option in the country. Want to point out that does not mean it is legal tender. As Zay and King would say, this is a base hit as far as there is regulatory adoption within a country, but you got to understand how they're allowing it to be utilized officially in the economic system, in the financial system. Going down to this other highlight here, for the purpose of this law, a digital representation of value that can be traded or transferred by electronic means and used to make payment or for investment purposes is considered a virtual asset. And this is coming out of the president's side of, hey, just to be clear, we're not saying that this is a legal tender in the country. We're just saying that you can use this to pay for things. It's a difference. Therefore, this does not include national and foreign currencies, electronic currencies, instruments that provide certain benefits and services, such as points and rewards from loyalty programs, and securities and financial assets. And this is part of the reason why when folks say certain things about, oh, crypto is like stocks or it's like reward points, like, no, it's not. I can't just give my reward points to my 5-year-old by using a crypto wallet. I can't just send thousands of dollars halfway around the world and have it take depending on what blockchain I'm using, what crypto I'm using, seconds to minutes, and for like marginal amounts of the cost of what a traditional payment rail would be. You can't do that in these other formats. So this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next year, especially with what's going on this global economy setup. And what does this mean for Brazil in regards to the BRICS and like what they're doing with One Belt, One Road as far as things going on with China in Latin America? Like those are the parts of the conversations that a lot of Western folks, a lot of folks up here in the North America region don't put in context or even put on the radar when we hear about these stories of Bitcoin or crypto adoption in other countries. There's a whole bunch of other organizations and entities and like financial institutions or partnerships that are at play when stuff like this happens. Okay. Oh, there was the other thing too that within this move, so Brazil's move to regulate as a payment mechanism sets the stage for greater Bitcoin adoption in the country and at large and Latin America at large. Why I'm bringing this up is because this then means what are the potential partnerships that are going to be formed within the country amongst like Argentina, Peru, Paraguay, Panama, Chile, Belize. Okay, they're all on the same continent. What does this mean for what they can do down the road as using crypto as that payment rail? I don't know, but we'll see how it plays out in the coming years. So that's my last story. I'm trying to get back on getting down on the time. Didn't work out today, but whatever. What is it? We're at the end of the show, and I want to say thank y'all for making it all the way to the end. The last thing to remember is I'm also doing the other show, Metaverse is the Other Side, which comes out on Friday at 11 p.m. We are back on the episodes because we started this during the summer. So if you're listening to it and then you tap in on the Twitter Spaces when we do it live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. on the Builder DAO account, links for that are in the description. That's why there's such a difference in the conversations and like what we're talking about. But nonetheless, I just wanted to throw that out there. Also wanted to say it is Monday. Hopefully you have a productive over a busy day for at least the day, if not the week. And if not, I at least hope that you are in a safe place and in a safe space in good company. I know folks got things going on in their life. Trust me, I do too. So that is like the most heartfelt thing that I can wish for y'all out there. All right. Other than that, catch you on the next Monday. One.